In this edition of Vinyl Haul, we have mostly new releases here, as well as an old comp from the early 80s, and the one and only album from a band coming out of the late aughts. Overall, a couple more albums than usual, so why not stay a spell, right? First up is the 8th studio album from American tech death thrash band Revocation. This is Nether Heaven, released in 2022 by Metal Blade Records. So first off, if you want to hear just how heavy a trio can get, Revocation is certainly your band. Pummeling riffs at breakneck speed, dynamic tempo shifts that lean a bit into the progressive, but without the album losing its metal sensibilities, and some well-crafted melodicism, notably in the solos. This one also steers a bit more into death metal than previous efforts, yet still maintains plenty of the thrash. Speaking of which, I do get some hints of late 80s thrash here, along with some early 90s death metal throughout on this record, though it's also a bit modern. Overall, I would say it's a pleasing combination of its elements. How's that? Possibly the track that indulges the most in the melodic is Gallery of Morbid Artistry, with its sweeping acoustic passages intertwined with crushing mid-pace groove riffs. It might not be for everyone, but definitely give this track a shot. Also, the last track, Recrucified, has guest vocals from the late Trevor Sternad from the Black Dahlia Murder, as well as Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse. Definitely a fitting album ender. It's blasty, fast riffing, and with those guest vocalists, of course. Vinyl variant for this one is 1 LP Elysium Baby Blue. No release numbers for this or the other variants, it would seem. Don't know why, but it seems to be the case. We also have an insert with full lyrics, as well as credits, and some more of that great artwork from the cover. Fantastic. As for favorites, definitely Nihilistic Violence, also Strange and Eternal, as well as my very favorite song on this album, God Forsaken. Definitely check that one out first. Also, there are music videos for the tracks Diabolical Majesty, as well as Nihilistic Violence. You can check out both of those at the Metal Blade Records YouTube channel. So, for those who hear terms like tech and prog and think that has to mean lightweight or showy for its own sake, Nether Heaven puts all of that to rest, proving itself to be completely brutal, melodic, chaotic, and heavy all at the same time. And certainly not a predictable death thrash album by any stretch. Definitely very impressed with this one. Check it out. Next is a compilation of tracks from bands of the new wave of British heavy metal era. This is The Friday Rock Show, released in 1981 by BBC Records. So just in case some of you don't know about it, the Friday Rock Show is a radio show on BBC Radio 1 in the UK. It ran from November of 78 to April of 1993. It was also hugely important in promoting the bands under the new wave of British heavy metal banner in the late 70s and the early 80s. It was hosted by Tommy Vance. The program was also one of the first to play hard rock and heavy metal of any sort in the UK. It also featured live in-studio performances of these up-and-coming bands, of which this compilation is definitely comprised. And despite the 1993 ending of the original show, there was a revamped version of the Friday Rock Show in the 2000s, which was hosted by Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden. I never got to hear those episodes, but if you did, let me know in the comments. I should probably try to track some of those down sooner or later, because I'd really love to hear them. This collection is also considered a continuation of sorts, following the 1980 release of Metal Explosion, which I also clearly need to get. Sounds amazing. And as you can imagine, the vinyl variant is 1 LP Classic Black. Why would it be anything else? Not much else in the jacket, but I do have some favorites. Eye of the Storm from Sweet Savage is my very favorite song on here. Love that track a lot. Also, One Hell of a Night from Demon, and Cuttin' Loose from Zero. You might recognize the Sweet Savage track, as it also made an appearance on the 1992 LP compilation New Wave of British Heavy Metal 79 Revisited, which was put together by Lars Ulrich and Jeff Barton. It is a highly recommended comp if you're wanting to get into Nawabum. Very well curated. Also, a fun fact about Sweet Savage, that lineup featured a pre-Dio Vivian Campbell on guitar, seeing as they are an Irish band. Very cool. So, I've been a huge fan of Nawabum since the 1980s and always dig finding yet another album or compilation from this era, like this one. It's a solid mix of better known and not so well known bands of the time, which works out for someone wanting to hear both, like me. Worth hearing, for sure. Next up is the 12th studio album from Austrian blackened death metal band Belphegor. This is The Devils, released in 2022 by Nuclear Blast Records. So this time around, Belphegor has slowed it down a bit at times compared to previous releases, though you will get some blasty moments here and there. A lot of the less speedy material does provide some great atmosphere and really complements the faster tracks. Likewise, get ready for lots of evil chanting. Like Prego, it's in there. Vinyl variant for this one is 1 LP Wine Red, limited to 1,200 copies worldwide. Cool custom labels, of course. We also have a booklet with lyrics. All the lyrics, all the time. We also get not only more lyrics, but we get a couple pictures. There's one. And of course, there's the other for you. And credits on the back. Also comes in a gatefold jacket with some more of that artwork from the cover. Just fantastic artwork, loving it. And of course, we're going to get to the favorites. Definitely Totentanz Danz Macabre, great song. Also Glorifizierung des Teufels. I think that's how you say it. That's my favorite of the 3 tracks, by the way. Also check out Ritus Incendium Diabolis. There's also a bonus track called Blackest Sabbath 1997, which is a re-recorded medley of both Blackest Ecstasy and Blut Sabbath, both of which originally found on the Blut Sabbath album from, as you could imagine, 1997. We also get some guest appearances on the record, including a very brief spoken word outro from Johannes Adonis of Lucifer on the track Glorifizierung des Teufels, or Glorification of the Devil, which is easier to say. Funny how some song titles are in German, some are in English, and some in Latin. I mean, why stick with one language? I guess. Speaking of which, I did run some of these titles through Google. Apparently, Virtus Asinaria is Latin for donkey power. Amazing. Music videos for the title track, as well as Virtus Asinara Prayer. Both videos are, as you might expect, visually interesting. But I lean a little more towards Virtus Asinara, of course. Don't let that stop you from watching both videos at the Nuclear Blast Records YouTube channel. And for those who care, the total runtime for the album clocks in at only 43 minutes. Perfect. Overall, some nice variety of tempos, plenty of blackened atmosphere and moody guitar work, and of course, those blasphemous lyrics you kids all seem to be crazy about. Definitely enjoying this one. I think you might too. Next is the 7th studio album from American crossover thrash metal band Municipal Waste. This is Electrified Brain, released in 2022 by Nuclear Blast Records. So one thing I'm hearing in more modern Municipal Waste is some occasional deviations from pure crossover and more into some traditional metal territory, notably with some of the riffs, but don't count out those mosh-worthy moments entirely because they are here. So maybe think of it as less Cro-Mags and more Overkill, or even Exodus, if that isn't too overgeneralized. I also can't help compare vocalist Tony Foresta to Nuclear Assault's John Connolly at times. There's this almost eerie similarity between their vocal styles and sound. Sometimes you swear it's actually Connolly, which is kind of funny. Vinyl variant for this one is Blue Marbled, limited to 2,600 copies. There you go. We also get an insert with full lyrics, as well as a collage of live shots of the band. Another band I would really love to see. I know I mentioned Temple of Void last episode, but this is definitely another one of those bands that's on the list for me. Let's get to favorites. I would definitely include Demoralizer, kick-ass song, also High Speed Steel, Crank the Heat, and Barreled Rage. Check out all of those. There are music videos for Electrified Brain and Grave Dive, as well as a lyric video for High Speed Steel. Gravedive is actually animated. It's full of visual in references that metal fans, not to mention horror movie fans, will spot right away. Of the 3 videos, check out the one for the title track first, but, you can just watch the other 2 as well. They can all be found at the Nuclear Blast Records YouTube channel. So, while no one's going to find this album innovative or groundbreaking, that's not really the point of Municipal Waste. It's old school thrash metal with some occasional tempo shifts and gang vocals, along with twin harmonic leads, and a whole lot of fun. Which is the point, incidentally. Definitely dug this one a bit more than the last record, so yeah, you should pick this one up. Next is the only studio album from international metal band Heaven and Hell. This is The Devil You Know, released in 2009 by Rhino Records. So in case you didn't know, Heaven and Hell was a lineup of Black Sabbath featuring Iommi, Butler, Appice, and of course, Ronnie James Dio. The band is named after the first Black Sabbath album with Dio on vocals back in 1980. Basically, Iommi wanted to differentiate this lineup from the Ozzy Osbourne-led one that had been touring under the Black Sabbath name. The name difference might also be appropriate in that more times than not, this doesn't exactly sound like a Sabbath album. It's a strong album with some powerful tracks, and Iommi's guitar playing is undeniable, but even when compared to Sab albums he and Dio have been on, this is fairly different. I would say overall it's pretty doomy, especially when put against those previous efforts. Given the years, Dio's voice now prefers a lower register here, but it's still strong. Butler's bass is also up in the mix, so you won't miss that. I certainly didn't. Appice's drumming is serviceable, though sticks to the 4/4 beat a lot. And of course, Iommi sounds thick and menacing on most tracks, which isn't exactly a shocker. I mean, the guy's a legend for a reason. Though my only real gripe with is the production on this one. It's a little muddy at times, flat in others, and not particularly big sounding. I would have preferred the sound they got on their Dehumanizer album, which is going to be the obvious comparison here, but some of the songwriting on The Devil You Know does make up for the production, so there's that. Final variant for this one is 2LP Classic Black. There's also an etching on side 4 with familiar Sabbath iconography there in the center. I think you can make that out. As well as the numbers 25 and 41, which are a reference to the book of Matthew in the Bible concerning the final judgment, in which those who sit at the left side of God are cast into hell. So that's kind of fun. We also have a poster of the band. Nice that this was included. Let's open that up for you. Take a nice look. Yeah. Great poster. And we also get a gatefold. Full lyrics. There you are. And of course, some favorites. Let's do them. Bible Black is probably the obvious favorite. A lot of folks do love that song. Also, The Turn of the Screw, as well as Follow the Tears. Great songs. Speaking of Bible Black, there is a music video for the track. It is an animated video, more or less, with members of the band appearing as silhouettes among the animation. You can check that out at the Rhino YouTube channel. So, while a few of these tracks fall flat in both delivery and repetition, there is still plenty to enjoy on this record, which is to say that when this album shines, it really shines. Of course, this is also the final album that Ronnie James Dio recorded before his death in 2010, so rest in peace, Ronnie. As for the album, it's still worth hearing. Definitely. Next is a live album from American death metal band Obituary. This is Cause of Death, Live Infection, released in 2022 by Relapse Records. So, as with the other album they released simultaneously with this one, Live Infection is also live in studio, which can blur the lines of distinction between a live album and a re-recording of a classic record. I do prefer to view this as live, however, mainly because it has that energy, but it also has those imperfections and slight deviations that make live albums fun to hear. At least that's what I get out of them. Don't get me wrong, though. The performance is killer and the mix is fantastic, but it's never going to be studio album perfect, nor should it be, really. The album was recorded by producer Joe Sincata, who also recorded the last LP and EP for the band, if that helps you out at all. And like the other live in studio record, the vinyl only has the Cause of Death tracks and no bonuses. If you want the latter, you'll have to seek out the album on other formats, as they do include 4 additional songs. Personally, I'm fine with just the Cause of Death tracks here, and I don't know, maybe you will be too. Vinyl variant for this one is 1 LP black inside red with splatter, limited to 243 copies. Or 200 copies if you believe the hype sticker. There is a bit of continuity error there. It also happened with the last live album, the one that came out at the same time as this one. I don't know why that is. Anyways, you get an insert here with a cool picture of the band, including Trevor, who looks utterly insane in this photograph. Love it. Also, the classic artwork. I also remember this artwork on the cover of an H.P. Lovecraft book in the 1980s, one of those reissues. Always loved this artwork a whole lot. Here it is again. Of course, we do have favorites. We should talk about Chopped in Half. It is my favorite Obituary song ever. Great version here. Also, their cover of Celtic Frost, Circle of the Tyrants, is fantastic, as well as Find the Arise, another killer version of that song. Regarding the cover song, it is funny how I never picked up on the strong Celtic Frost influence on this band in general until, I think, many years later. I mean, somehow I just didn't hear it in the early 90s, but man, it's practically drenched in it. I mean, how could I miss that? It should have been especially obvious while listening to the actual cover song. I don't know. Just an observation, but listening to this record definitely reminded me of that. So there you go. Bonus story. So I came for a modern performance of the Cause of Death album, and that's exactly what I got. This also reminds me that I need to get off my duff and track down OG vinyl copies of the first 2 Obituary studio albums. I mean, I've had the CDs since their releases, but, you know, gotta have the vinyl. Anywho, good live in-studio album here. In fact, both this and Slowly We Rot live in Rotting are equally worth picking up. If you missed what I had to say on that other record, you should go watch last month's Vinyl Haul for that. Good stuff. Next up is the 4th studio album from American heavy metal band Savage Master. This is Those Who Hunt at Night, released in 2022 by Shadow Kingdom Records. So, we still have Savage Master in their trad metal element, brazenly showing their 80s metal influences, but delivering it in a modern and streamlined way. Also, fancy production be damned. Rather, you'll get aggressively melodic female vocals, chugging riffs, and plenty of opportunities to bang your fist, which is exactly what I'd expect in a Savage Master album. Vinyl variant is called Red and Black Tears, limited to 1,400 copies. Also seems to be the dominant variant. I can kind of see this one all over the place. Also get an insert, a very shiny insert with full lyrics, as well as a great graphic on the back. With my copy, I also got this cool comp from Shadow Kingdom Records. It is a CD comp, as you can see. Some great bands on here. Savage Master's on here, of course, but also you have Altar of Oblivion, Haunt, Temple of Void, Pounder, Seax, Bewitcher, Tyrant. Whole lot of cool bands. I don't know if they sell this. I mean, I got it with my order. I ordered directly from Shadow Kingdom. So I don't know the deal with that. You might want to check out their website or write them or whatever, but it's a pretty cool comp. Again, the tracks seem at least a few years old. I don't know if there's a volume 2. This is volume 1, but very cool comp for sure. Also, the record, I should mention, has a gatefold with some lovely lasses and hooded figures there for your entertainment. And of course, we should get to the favorites. Hunt at Night, great song. It opens the album. Also, Eyes Behind the Stars is pretty cool, and especially The Hangman's Tree. I think that's my current favorite on the album. Speaking of the first song, there is a music video for the track, Hunt at Night. Lots of campiness and, of course, metal. Check this one out at the Nwatham Full Albums YouTube channel. That's NWOTHM Full Albums. So, this one was definitely a grower for me, but through each listen, I was undeniably pulled in by the classic metal sound, the Judas Priest-inspired riffs, and the overall energy, definitely. And Stacey Savage can definitely hold her own in the modern day alongside 80s metal lady legends such as Betsy Bitch and Leather Leone. And now that I just noticed it, they all have alliterative names. How about that? Overall, this really does feel like one of their strongest releases, in part for their deft balance of underground trad metal, with the addition of more melodic mid-pace moments that sometimes give faint hints to Nawabum. And sure, Savage Master does have a bit of an established formula, but it's one that many fans of modern trad metal dig, including me. Definitely. Give this one a shot. It's pretty cool. Next is the 6th studio album from Swedish death metal band Bloodbath. This is Survival of the Sickest, released in 2022 by Napalm Records. Of course, maybe it's more of an international band if you factor in their English vocalist Nick Holmes of Paradise Lost. The band's lineup also features a former member of Opeth, as well as current members of Catatonia and Leak. So, yep, it's a death metal supergroup. There are definitely outside influences here. I catch some Morbid Angel, Asphyx, Death, and maybe even a little bit of Grave comes to mind, but it really is Holmes' unique gruff vocals that really bring in some of that early Paradise Lost flavor over top the rapid tempo shifts and manic death metal riffage. Some of the moodier solos also point in the Paradise Lost direction, at least a little bit for me. And it certainly can't be me that is the only one who hears God of Emptiness in the album closer, No God Before Me. I mean, no cat stalking or snake slithering, but still, the vibe is definitely there. I do dig it much in the same way I dig that Morbid Angel track, so we're good. We also get a few guest appearances, most notably Barney Greenway from Napalm Death on the track Putrefying Corpse. But elsewhere on the record is Mark Grew from Insidious Disease, as well as Luke LeMay of Goreguts. Of the three, I would say Barney is the most prominent and recognizable, which is to say that you won't have to look at the liner notes for this one. You'll hear him right away. Vinyl variant on this one is Yellow Translucent, which is an O-Merch exclusive. I know there's a black vinyl version out there as well. No release numbers on this one, unfortunately. I don't know why. There might also be other vinyl variants. If so, let me know in the comments. I didn't look into that too much. Anyways, we got an insert picture of the band, as well as full lyrics and liner notes. And of course, favorites. Zombie Inferno, great song. Also Carved, probably one of my favorites, and Affliction of Extinction. Check all three of those out. There are also music videos for both Zombie Inferno and Putrefying Corpse, as well as lyric videos for Carved and No God Before Me, so my favorites kind of line up there. Both of the music videos are pretty great, but Zombie Inferno takes the lead for pure 70s Italian horror movie vibes. But check out all of them at the Napalm Records YouTube channel. So this album might have quite the appeal to those who dig the early eras of the bands these gents come from, and even if you're not familiar with that material, there is still a lot of relevance to modern death metal on this one. Overall, I'm really digging this one a lot, and perhaps you will as well. Seriously, check this one out. Next up is the 15th studio album from German thrash metal titans Kreator. This is Hate über Alles, released in 2022 by Nuclear Blast Records. So first off, I do find the English-German mashup of the album title a little funny, as I'm pretty sure hate isn't a German word. It is Hass, right? Anyways, not a big deal, but I just felt like I had to point it out for some weird reason. I feel one stumbling block some classic fans of Kreator will have with this, and probably some of the other modern releases from them, is the blending of power metal elements in their otherwise thrash metal. That's very much the case here on this album, especially in some of the big sounding gang choruses. If that bothered you before, it will bother you a bit more on this one, but thankfully, I'm not bothered by it. But one odd criticism I've heard is with the opening instrumental track, Sergio Corbucci is Dead. Great title, by the way. Mainly for being an acoustic guitar intro. Not sure what the fuss is, considering that Kreator opened both Pleasure to Kill and Coma of Souls with acoustic intros. If there's some other problem, I don't know, maybe the whole spaghetti western vibe or something else, you can let me know in the comments, because I otherwise just don't get what the issue is here. So with that out of the way, we have an album with quite a bit of variety, including the usual thrash assault, but with both power and trad metal strains throughout. We also get some tribal drums to open the track Crush the Tyrants. We get female vocals in the pre-choruses and choruses of Midnight Sun. There's a choral chanting segment in Conquer and Destroy. Some almost neo-folk vocal parts in Pride Becomes Before the Fall. And some amazing lead work from Sammy. I would say, given this versatility, I'm pretty sure that no one is going to accuse this record of being the same song played 11 times. Just can't imagine it. Vinyl variant for this one is 2LP black and red marbled. It is limited to 300 copies and is a European variant. Side 4 has an etching on it. Hopefully you can make that out. It is the logo with a nice little graphic there. Pretty cool. Also, we have inserts, lyrics for the entire album on that side. Rest of the lyrics are here, and then we have credits and the like right there. The album is also in a triple gatefold jacket, which is interesting for a 2LP set. See it right there. Hopefully I got it all in there for you. Let's say I did. Also, the middle panel that you might have missed. And, of course, the back. Now, let's get to favorites. First and foremost is the title track, Hate Uber Alles. My favorite song on this album. It's probably the best song on this album. You can argue with me in the comments if you want to. Maybe. Also, Killer of Jesus, killer song. It's the Killer of Jesus and it's a killer song. How about that? But also Demonic Future and Dying Planet. I really dig those songs quite a bit. Admittedly, I wasn't excited about Crush the Tyrants or Become Immortal. I found them a bit of a lull compared to the other tracks, but your mileage might vary on that one. Who knows? Anyways, music videos for Hate Uber Alles, Strongest of the Strong, Become Immortal, and Midnight Sun. All are good, but you know what? Maybe check out Hate Uber Alles first. And of course, you can check out Strongest of the Strong second. Heck, watch all of them. They're at the Nuclear Blast YouTube channel. So, unlike Kreator's previous effort, Gods of Violence, which really grabbed me right away, I did have to spend time with Hate Uber Alles. But once I did, I came to really enjoy the album. And of course, yes, they are a very different band from their classic album days. And I know that still bugs some folks. I mean, even I had to get past that a while back. As well as get past some not-so-great albums later in the 90s, of course. But once I did, I found that I really dug where Kreator ended up. And that's why I'm recommending Hate Uber Alles. Give it a spin. Next is the 12th studio album from Polish black and death metal band Behemoth. This is Opus Contra Naturam, released in 2022 by Nuclear Blast Records. So first and foremost, I am not going to talk about Nurgle's renowned social media activity because unlike other reviewers or people who talk about albums in general on the YouTubes, I don't see what that has to do with music on a record. So just wanted to get that out of the way. So one aspect of the record I dig is the alternating between dark atmosphere and crushing extreme metal. I mean, just when you're almost comfortable with one, the record takes you to the other end of things and then back again and so on. And I gotta say, that makes the ride an enjoyable one for me. So there it is. Likely the one unexpected track on the album is Once Upon a Pale Horse, with the main riff being a tad, shall we say, groove-laden. I mean, I dig it, especially the very satisfying choruses, though the song might stray too much from the other tracks for some listeners. So, listener beware. The album ends with what is the longest song on the album at 6.5 minutes, such being Versus Christus. A powerful track and certainly musically tied to Thy Becoming Eternal, but I wonder if the latter song would have been a better album ender. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. I'd be really curious to get your opinions for sure. Final variant for this one is Classic Black, which is the main variant available everywhere, it would seem. There is another one. It's white and gold. I think there are a couple others as well. Those are in a white version of the cover. I did get the black album and the black cover, as you can see here. Also some very cool spot varnish on the snake. I don't know if you can make that out. And some bronze foiling there on the text in the front and the back. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. But I like this version a lot better. I thought a black record for Behemoth would be kind of fitting. Anyways, it does come with this amazing booklet, multi-page booklet. I won't go through all of it, but just see some pictures. There's a lot of lyrics. Cool layout for it. Let's get to some pictures. Some more pictures here. You got a nice shot of them there, as well as this one somewhat white page out of all of them. It kind of jumps out at you. Some more pictures, lyrics, cool layout again. And there you go there. And you got some credits, more pictures, and ends with that. So pretty awesome. We also have a gatefold. Right there, it has the words Contra, if you can make that out. They are spot varnished in the middle there. Pretty cool. So let's get to some favorites. Obviously, the Deathless Sun, great track. It is definitely my favorite song on the album, but also Neo Spartacus and Thy Becoming Eternal. Check all three of those out for sure. There are music videos for the tracks Of My Herculean Exile, Off to War, The Deathless Sun, Thy Becoming Eternal, and Versus Christus. As you would expect, they're all sufficiently bizarre, especially Versus Christus. There is also a 4-song live performance material from this album called Opus Contra Cultorum, live atop the Palace of Culture, which is also worth checking out. All these are available at the Behemoth YouTube channel. So it's possible that your reception of this album might be reliant upon your expectations when it comes to purely black metal music. I mean, truth is, Behemoth aren't exactly that band anymore and have incorporated not just death metal, but other stylistic elements into the mix. Maybe I was more open to those last 3 albums of theirs because I'm typically not a staunch black metal guy, so I might lack those expectations. Who knows? But I really do dig the back and forth on this record, from crushing riffs to dark and moody atmospherics. And as I mentioned before, I'm not a huge black metal fan, but I'd hazard to guess that some folks might find this and the previous 2 albums a possible gateway to the genre, and maybe I'm in there a little too as well. So at any rate, Opus Contra Naturum is dramatic, it's brutal, and well worth all the spins it's gotten from me. Definitely digging this one. Of course, this is the part where you tell me which of these albums you liked, which ones you disliked. Also, if you like other records from the bands I talked about. Love to hear about that. Also, music suggestions in general. Maybe some of the bands I talked about remind you of other bands that you think I would like. I really appreciate when you guys put comments in and suggestions and all of that. And I can tell you, I do respond to them, and I do put some of those albums in my future vinyl hauls. Like, I actually go out and spend money on the records that you guys actually recommend, and you're usually pretty spot on. So definitely leave all of that and anything else in the comments below. And in case you're new to the channel, my name is Matt. This is the Accusation Network, where each and every week I do videos on metal vinyl collecting. I also cover the topics of classic and modern metal in general. That sounds like something you want to watch? Definitely give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and watch this video with someone you love. But you can also share it with friends, because I dig that too. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.